Okay, so I'm at a Wild McLean Ultra, a 105, Series 3, and this is pretty much how it was when I arrived. Cover off, a couple of components replaced, but I'm here for an issue, which is that it's not burning properly, and it sputters and kicks off, and that it needs a cleaning. So I'm gonna get started. Okay, so as I take off the last nut here, this is the heat exchanger, and this is the blower and the gas valve. It pushes a mixture of gas and air into the heat exchanger through a burner tube, where it's lit by the igniter, which sits right here, and the flame and the exhaust gases are used to heat up the water through pins right here. And if I pull this out now, which I can't because I missed one more nut, I will show you the burner. And it's very important that the burner is in good condition, because any holes in it or anything will cause improper combustion. So once I get this nut off, I'll pull it off. You'll see the burner, and it's a long metal tube with mesh around it. Actually, I don't think it's mesh on this model. I think it's just a metal tube with holes in it. But yeah, so here's our metal tube with holes in it, and there we have our gasket leaning on top of the burner. So that was not in place, which would not only cause exhaust leakage, but improper burn if it's blocking any of the orifices. But here's our heat exchanger itself, and I'll turn the flash on so you can get a better look at that. So here is that heat exchanger. It's not awful, but it is dirty. You can see the buildup, all those little white crusties, the white film on everything. You can also see damage to our gas valve, at least externally, from the moist and hot exhaust fumes filled with condensate, leaking because there's no gasket material there onto the gas valve. But I'm gonna get working on cleaning this. We'll move over to this, taking the components apart and replacing gaskets, which are included in the maintenance kit, which the homeowner has already purchased. Okay, so I did the dry scrubbing on the heat exchanger to kind of knock off all the debris. I'm gonna pull off this gasket now, which is just disintegrated. And then I'll pull our burner off and clean this up. This burner is pretty plugged up and dirty. You can see a lot of these holes are clogged up, so that's a problem. I'll take these screws, these Phillips off from the edges and pull this out. And here's the gasket that sat in between the burner cover plate and the gas valve, and it is in brutal shape. So the blower one is probably going to be hard to get off, but I'm going to replace that gasket so none of these components fall out on me, because it's very sensitive stuff. So I got everything nice and cleaned up now, and it's time to put it all back together and then address everything else that's going on here. But we got to get the boiler burning nicely first. Okay, so now we're gonna see what happens now that we're powering it on and everything's been cleaned. We'll see how it burns, if it burns. It was cutting out before, almost immediately after lighting. So, actually, let me get this on in there. It's a fresh air tube silencer. Just makes it so that it's quiet. And we'll see what happens. That's my testo running that you hear. Okay, so while we are running and holding a flame, the carbon monoxide is very high, and our O2 appears like it's high. So it looks like I'm gonna have to be doing some adjusting. See if we can get it to run a little bit better. Okay, so to adjust it, we are going to go into the contractor settings and diagnostics, manual test mode, force rate high. So we're forcing it into high fire. It's hard to see on this screen. Doing a combustion analysis, we will adjust our fuel to air mixture in high fire on the Venturi, because we really don't want to touch this one on the gas valve, because it's a nightmare if you miss your place or you mess up or you overdo it. So high fire, adjusting on the Venturi. We'll be going counterclockwise to richen the mixture. We have too much O2. We need 9% on our CO2, which we had 6. So we're gonna bring this over to our CO2 and wait and see what happens. So we had 6.4, we need 9. And I'll adjust accordingly to get that. I'm gonna start off right now just with a little bit of a turn, about a quarter turn. I'm gonna go more. Another quarter turn, actually. And you can see it's coming up slowly. So I'll pull this Allen key out and lock it back in a different position so I have more room to swing. CO2, 9, we have 7. I'm gonna go ahead with another decent quarter turn. And I'm recording this as well, so I know I'm keeping track of what I'm doing. So if worse comes to worse, I could bring it back to what it was before I touched it. But you want to be really careful and slow about it, because you do not want to mess it up. But you do also want to go somewhat quickly, because the boiler will reach temperature, and that'll stink, because then you have to wait a while before you can continue with adjusting. But I'll finish this off camera and we'll see what we get. Okay, and here you can see what I meant about working fast. We reached set point temperature, and I wasn't quite there yet, so getting on the space heating zones, which I left off. That way, if it did hit temperature, I could still get more cold water back to the boiler. And that was not good, that sputter. But we will see what happens as it ramps up. Okay, so we got our high fire. I got it at 8.92, and I decided to leave it there because our CO was starting to come up again after adjusting at that point. So I leveled it out there and left it. Now I'm doing low fire. We need 8.4, but you really don't want to adjust the gas valve unless like it's an absolute necessity. And I don't think 0.2, 0.3% is a necessity in this case, so I'm not going to touch that because I'll cause more problems than good. It's running, it's not making any noises, it's not buffering, it's not cutting out. It hasn't cut out at all, actually. So it looks like we have fixed our issue with the flame. However, there's a lot of other things going on, such as a faulty temperature pressure gauge where our pressure isn't even hooked up. Full expansion tank hanging by a 1/2-inch pipe. I don't even want to touch that without making sure that he knows that this might need to be like repiped, because I don't want to crack that. It's in a very sketchy place. We have our drip legs not to the ground. This one goes into a PVC pipe that goes to the ground. You know, it's a flex tube under fresh air, which isn't the end of the world because it's just fresh air, but it's like just shoddy work. But right now it's running. That's the most important thing. I'm gonna kick it back into auto after I stop this and print this, and should be all set and good to go. Hard to read that screen, especially on camera. Okay, so I got my combustion results there, sticker, tag with what I did, discussed everything with him. Everything's running safely, so you're all good to go. Okay, so finish up with that. He was super happy to finally have heat. He's been like without heat for 4 years or something, that it's been going on and off constantly. So now I'm headed off to my next one, which is a heating maintenance. I don't know what they have. I didn't even bother checking. I'll just see when I get there. I don't know that I'll have that much to record on that, but we'll see. Okay, so here we are, steam boiler, and I've been here before. Replaced a few air valves. She's lived here for a year now. It's funny, the floor looks wet, but it's just really nicely polished. 2006 was when this boiler was made. Don't recall exactly what I did on the boiler last time. I believe I lowered the pressure control, but I just asked, and she said she only hears that come on maybe once a month, once every couple months, which is perfect, so it's not feeding often. What I'm going to do is overfill it with this bypass. See that water level coming up. Once it's overfilled, I'll close it. This is just testing if there's any holes in the heat exchanger. Almost at the top. And right about there. And so far, no moisture. I'll pull the burners out, clean the burners. I will drain down the water and clear out our pigtail. Combustion analysis, all the standard maintenance procedures. So test low water cutoff, test auto feeder, and that's it. And I keep these nice thick Milwaukee, I think they're like goat leather gloves. That way I could touch hot things without any problems. Okay, so I vacuumed out the burner compartment and the burners, drained the boiler till it was empty, flushed a little bit of water through to get as much sediment out as possible, had the water running pretty clean. Now it is time to pull the pressure control and make sure the pigtail is clear. So I disconnected the 2 lines coming in for the low voltage, but I'm going to need both hands to do this, so I'll pull it off and show you. So I took the pressure control off. Now I'm taking the pigtail out. Because it's black, I'm going to pull it off and really clean it. If it were brass, I would just blow through it. And let's see, it's hard to see if it's clogged or not, but take it to the sink and blow through it. It's definitely a little bit clogged because I wasn't able to blow through that well, so I will run water through it, shake it up a little bit, try to get all that debris out. Got it all cleared out, and I rewrapped it with some new Teflon, pulled off the old stuff. Now we can put it back on. Then after I get that wired in, I'll power it back on, make sure the low water cutoff prevents the boiler from firing, and then that it tells the auto feeder to fill the boiler, because now it is completely empty. And I always like to point it this way, where this comes out farthest from the boiler, because if you have it in any other direction, it'll be closer to the boiler. It'll be right here, or right here or right here, so that way I have room to screw the pressure troll on without banging up against the side of the boiler like it was before. And since I have it re-Tefloned, I can face it towards me so that we could see it and actually adjust it with good vision on it. Okay, so I just gave everything a good wipe down, make sure it's nice and clean, at least visually. And now we wait for the low water cutoff, which the light is on. It is preventing the burners, to tell the auto feeder to feed the boiler. And after that, when it kicks on, I can do my combustion analysis. And I closed this valve, pulled this plug. That way, now that the boiler is full, I can blow out all the sludge from this line right here. See how that water started out brown and turned clear. I'll just kind of open and close it a couple times just to get it to be nice and clean. And now that sight glass is pretty clear. A little bit of sediment in there because it kicked up everything with filling it, but now the sight glass will be nice and clear. Just pulled out and replaced those thermostat batteries because that'll be not a good call to come for no heat and it's just the batteries. So I'm gonna get the testo and do the combustion analysis. Okay, so here are our testo results, and put them in that slip on the cover. Put the cover back on the boiler, one-handed, yeah, two-handed. Couldn't get, there's some little specks there that I couldn't get off, but boiler's running and burning safely. I'm gonna fill out this tag here, leave it on the piping, and make sure everything runs smoothly for the rest of the time that I'm here. Okay, so I finished up with that. I showed the boiler how to drain. I showed the homeowner how to drain the boiler and make sure the water is clean and test the low water cutoff. And about insulating her piping. She has a huge long run of uninsulated steam piping in the basement, and I'd like to have it insulated, but she says she's gonna do it because she did it at her house, her older house. She gave me homemade soap. It's kind of cool. Never had a customer give me soap, but I am on my way now to a rooftop unit that I was at yesterday, and it was really weird what was going on. It has this flame rollout switch that trips at 225 degrees, but then resets at 145 degrees. At the stop sign, turn left. It's not really like a flame rollout, but that's what they call it. So it ties into the ignition control module, which I was getting really weird results when I was testing it. I would get the board no longer sending power to the rollout switch, so it would then say that the rollout switch was tripped because it wasn't sending power back to the board. But then I did actually get it to trip one time. It's supposed to trip at 225 degrees. I had my hand on the metal plate that it was on, so there's no chance it was close to 225 degrees. I would have burned my hand. And then, even though the switch was closed and closing, it would still say that it was open on the control board. So I got a new control, which is really what I think the issue is, because the rollout switch, even though it seems like it's tripping when it shouldn't be, it is closing, and the board should tell everything to run now that it's all closed, I think. But I got a board and I got a rollout switch, and I'm gonna go put that in. It's a little bit cold. It's up on a roof, so we'll see how much I record of it. Yesterday I was slipping on the ice. It was really, really slippery. It was like 27 or so degrees, which I know isn't as cold as a lot of places, but it hasn't been that cold here. We've been in like 60s, 50s, and today we were in we were freezing today, but now we're at about like 40. But yeah. Okay, so here's our unit. I just shut power off. There's our rollout switch, which is tripping. like inconsistently, and then our control board is right here. And I never pulled the rollout out, but I saw that it has 2 wire connections on the back there. It's a little concerned because this one only has 1, but I'm thinking it's probably just like a little jumper connector on there. Let's see. Yeah, it is. So when I get that pulled off, it'll just go right back on. And then the board, simple, easy swap out on that. So I'll get that all done and see what happens. Okay, so I just turned it on and jumped out R&W. Our inducer's running, our gas valve is open. You can see nice blue flames. And I mean, it's a little windy up here, so they're not perfectly blue. But I made sure that the heat exchanger wasn't cracked yesterday. I did do a maintenance on all these not long ago. I didn't think it was cracked, but I checked anyway. I pulled off the top and I inspected it down in there, but now we just wait a while and make sure it runs without any issues. And while it runs, you can see here, I can literally put my hand on here. No problem. No rollout happening. No hot temperature, So we've been running now for around 10 minutes, a little over 10 minutes. And I actually put the cover on just to maybe simulate, maybe it'll get hotter in there when the cover's on and it's not exposed to like fresh air, even though air comes in through here. But yeah, no issues, no tripping or anything, normal heartbeat, still got flames. So this is longer than it ran yesterday. It was only running for like a minute or so. So this is good. Okay, so I just cycled it off. I want to cycle it on and off a few times, but putting my hand up here, making sure it's not too hot to touch, and you can see all around. I can touch the switch itself, whatever. Not hot, so, well, I mean warm, but not hot to trip the switch. So I'm going to continue cycling it a couple times, but I think we're good to go. Okay, so I finished up with all my jobs. I went back to the shop and I spent a real good amount of time cleaning, as well as reorganizing and resituating my van. Is on your right. Arrived. And now I'm back at one of the calls that I was at today because I left my bucket there and it's kind of on the way home, so I asked her to leave it outside, so I'm just going to pick up the bucket. And got my van nice and clean. And put this bucket right here. And now the bungee cord that I have here isn't going to be long enough. Oh, got it. So yeah, now I could really walk through. And I reorganized all my shelving here. I also moved my ladder up here instead of right here. That way I could fit bigger things here. And I moved my hoses on that door rather than just hanging off of a bungee cord right here. So, yeah, this is going to be a lot nicer to work out of. So that's going to be it for this video. Heading back to my house now. It's 3:13. It's been pretty cool that Peter is now the office manager, my brother Peter. And he's scheduling the jobs and everything. It's just cool because he's like been with us at jobs, so he has an idea of what things are going to entail, what we might need, and he can give me like a heads up. And he's my brother, so it's just like convenient, I guess. So it's nice. But yeah, that's gonna be it. Hopefully you enjoyed watching the video. Comment any advice or criticisms or feedback, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.